Hi, Wade Galt here, founder of Insurance Agency Mastery and creator of the Automatic Insurance Agency Program, where we help multi-line insurance agency owners make more money in less time doing what they do best. If you're a multi-line insurance agency owner with at least $250,000 of gross agency revenue, working at least 30 hours per week, it's most likely possible for you to make more money, anywhere from 10 to 25% more net income to you, in less time, 5 to 25 less hours per week, doing what you do best and probably enjoy most. What I'm going to share with you here are the 12 steps that we've found to creating an automatic insurance agency. I've spent over 30 years working with insurance agency owners all over the United States and help them understand how to best get the most from their agency, understanding what the agency can do, not trying to have it overperform, and understanding how to best get the most from it in the least amount of time. First, I want to define what automatic means. Different dimensions of an agency might be anywhere from unprofitable to automatic. It's possible to move each dimension of an agency to automatic. So for example, most team members will automatically write autos. However, automatic dimensions of an agency still require maintenance because we're working with people, not robots, but take no more than 2 hours per week of an agency owner's time. So to do the math for you on that, at most 2 hours per week times these 12 dimensions would allow you to run your agency and get outstanding results in 24 hours of work per week or less. I found it can often be less. The first step is to have an automatic vision, to create your inspiring vision and game plan. Now, most entrepreneurs start their business because they want to make more money and/or they want more freedom to work the hours that they want, and they also want the freedom to do the type of work they enjoy. So we focus on helping you clarify your income, your goals for hours, and the work that you're going to do. In addition to that, we want to look at what does that mean to you. So you might have some goals to make a certain amount of income, work a certain number of hours, and do certain work, those XYZ goals, as we like to call them, but they really relate to the A, B, and C, who you spend your time with, how many vacation days you take, and what activities you do. So before we even get into strategic planning for the agency, we want to make sure we're clear about what you want to achieve. In order to get the most out of the agency, it's necessary to understand not only how it works, but how to envision a sales process for your agency that can be as automated as possible. And what that requires is filtering your clients to allow the clients to let you know how much and what type of help they want from you. So at least 50% of your clients, roughly, only want auto and fire insurance. An asset protection specialist, somebody who knows auto and fire insurance, could help this person. This type of person will not complete a multi-line questionnaire. They do not need to speak to the agent, and they do not need to speak to a multi-line salesperson. Another percentage of your agency will complete a questionnaire and are interested in discussing life, health, and disability. It doesn't mean they'll purchase it, but at least they're open to the conversation. Those types of clients will need somebody who is able to help them protect their income and protect their family with insurance solutions that are related to that. And then a smaller percentage of the clients want to look at their entire insurance portfolio, and they want an advisor, not just a salesperson, but somebody who can help them find the money and optimize their coverages. They will fill out a questionnaire, and they'll also fill out a form that lets you know what their assets and liabilities and income and expenses are. So if you envision this kind of like a dentist's office, the asset protection specialist on the right is a lower level or lower skilled position. It's equally important, but it's more like the administrative person or the receptionist type person that helps with the day-to-day stuff that does not involve higher level functions. The family and income protection specialist is a lot like the dental hygienist. They can do higher level skills and higher level tasks, but they don't do the highest level tasks like the insurance portfolio advisor does. The insurance portfolio advisor, like a dentist, does the cavities, the root canals. The most advanced tools or tactics are used to help solve the biggest problems. And so first, just having a sense of how things can work in your agency, allow it to be easier for you to adequately staff your agency without needing everybody to be a dentist or to be a top-level performer like an insurance portfolio advisor, and still meeting your clients' needs. Once you've got clear about the agency situation, it's important to get clear about the roles within your agency and what experts are going to be executing these plans. There are 3 primary roles in most multi-line insurance agencies. The first and by far most important role is the retention expert, or as some people like to call them, the renewal sales specialist. This person still is a salesperson, but they're selling renewals. They're making sure that the clients stay. They're able to write the order-taking business that walks in the door where the client says, yes, I want to buy insurance from you. I already know who you are. They service and maintain the book, keep the clients happy, and minimize lapses or customer defections. And as much as possible, they're really autopilot. They're team members that are happy to do the same thing over and over. They are self-starters. And when they're at their best, they don't need to take up a lot of the agency owner's time. Success for this role equals a 12.5% lapse rate or lower. That means your clients are staying at least 8 years. These people, of course, help make sure that the base salaries and the bills are paid because they're taking care of the renewals. The agency owner should not need more than 1 day a week to manage these people. It's the most profitable part of the business, and it provides the long-term job stability. The second role is the P&C growth expert. This person solicits auto and fire or property and casualty P&C sales and leads. Their job is to educate the client well and avoid the costly business. They help grow the agency by stirring up new sales, and success for them equals that their clients at least are going to stay 80% of the time, which means only 20% of the clients will lapse within the first year. They're going to pivot from the fire to the auto coverages or from auto to fire. They're going to work leads and centers of influence, avoid price-only business, and help grow the agency. And then the third person is the multi-line expert or the multi-line review expert. They generate and do client reviews, multi-lining existing clients and retaining clients through the relationship. In many agencies, the agency owner might be the only person really doing this role at an expert level. Success equals a 20% multi-line sales ratio, which means for every 100 auto fire sales made or property and casualty sales made, there are 20 life, health, disability, or if you offer bank product, those types of multi-line sales. This person can usually take care of about 1,800 households or families plus the new clients. They should be doing 20 full client reviews per month and writing at least 5 life, 5 health, and 5 bank on a monthly basis, and help the agency owner hit their company goals and scorecard. Third thing we need to do is automate the team members' desire to excel by creating huge opportunities for those who succeed. If you know the 3 roles and understand them, then you can create an opportunity that does something like this. This is just a small sampling. There's far more detail to this, but I want to keep it simple. If I've got a person who's a retention expert, I want to help them understand that I'd pay them a certain base salary, as it says here towards the top right. And I also want to make sure that they're doing certain things. In this case, going from left to right, I want to make sure they're making all the retention calls. So in my agency, a retention expert would be making at least 10 retention calls per day, or 50 a week, which is 200 per month. They'd have the lapse rate to the agency at certain numbers or lower. They'd be getting the clients to bring in their documents or their policies from other companies, because we know that leads to sales. And they'd be setting appointments that show. And if they could do that, I would show them a range of different levels. In this case, I'm showing 5 levels here, where they could make anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000 of bonus, or as I'm showing here with the base salary, $26,000 to $36,000 of income. And if it were my agency, I'd even show them where they could earn additional paid vacation days. Don't have to do that, but it's extremely powerful, especially with the younger generations. And if this person performed well enough at a high level as a retention expert, I would eventually give them the opportunity to become an auto-fire growth expert. And I'd be willing to invest the time in this person, and I'd measure them by a different criteria. How many quotes are they doing? What's the agency lapse rate? And how many auto-fire sales are they doing in a month, which would give them a chance to earn a higher income and still earn paid vacation days. And if they excelled at that, then I'd be willing to invest the time in them to help them become a multi-line review expert. And then their criteria would be based on life, health, bank sales and overall production, auto, fire, life, health, bank, client reviews. And this would give them the opportunity to earn an income of an even higher amount. And in my agency, if a person could continuously perform at these highest levels that are helping me hit my company goals, I'd be willing to give them as much as 48 days of paid vacation. In other words, where they could earn a 4-day work week if they were consistently performing at higher levels. I'd want to make sure I could very clearly communicate to the potential or existing team member what they could make if they performed at different levels of production. Specific numbers, specific premium amounts to let them see what the opportunity is. And I'd make sure they understood that the way I want to coach them is to help them master one level and eventually get to the next level. So in this example here, first let's get you averaging level 1 production across the board so you make $30,000. Then let's get you to level 2. Maybe it takes 3 months or 6 months. Now you're making $36,000. And so on. And in this example, at level 5, this person's earning $57,000 by being able to perform at the highest levels of production. I want steady, consistent growth, and I can coach them to do that. I also want to be able to automate results with accountability. I'm going to do this by defining and enforcing performance standards. For each role, there are going to be standards. So if you were an airline pilot, we know you would have to be able to do 3 things. You'd have to be able to help the plane take off, you'd have to be able to fly the plane, and you'd have to be able to help the plane land. If you cannot do those 3 things, you can't be a pilot. In this case, if you're going to be a multi-line expert, I'm going to say there's certain levels you need to do of life, health, bank quotes in a certain time frame. So in this case, if you're doing 15 life, health, bank quotes per week, that's outstanding, and all your bonuses will be paid. If you're doing 10, that's good, still getting all your bonuses. If you're doing 5, that's still acceptable. If you're only doing 3, we're probably going to have a job review. And if you're doing 0, there's going to be a job review with possible probation, and there'll be no bonuses. So I have a very clear track laid out as far as what's possible if you perform at different levels and what you'll be able to earn. And I have this for each of the different criteria for a position. For a multi-line expert, those 3 criteria that we find are most often used are life, health, bank quotes, multi-line review appointments, and life, health, bank sales. These could be tailored to whatever you want them to be, but we have them pretty nailed down as far as what already works. In addition to having standards, we have production requirements, especially for somebody who's learning a job. So if you're learning the multi-line expert job, in week 1, you need to at least be doing 2 life, health, bank quotes. By week 5, you need to have that up to 4 per week. And by week 9, you need to have that up to 6 per week. By doing this, I create a realistic impression, an expectation of where you're supposed to be. And if you're not there, you might not be able to stay in the position. Same thing goes for the number of multi-line review appointments and for the number of life, health, bank sales. What this allows me to do when I'm recruiting somebody is I'm going to show them the opportunity, the carrot, what's possible when I show them the bonus opportunity. But in addition to that, I'm going to show them where they would get fired if they can't perform at a certain level. So if we reach week 5 and you're not doing 4 life, health, bank quotes and 2 multi-line review appointments and 2 life, health, bank sales per week, or whatever the criteria I've defined, your job might be in jeopardy. And I want to do that and let you know that ahead of the game so that if you're possibly coming to work for me and you know you cannot do that, you're never going to come work for me in the first place. I take it very seriously when I hire somebody to be able to give them a solid and steady employment opportunity. I also take it seriously that we're able to deliver to our clients and help them protect their income, their loved ones, and their assets. So I will fire somebody very quickly if they're not able to do the work. I'm letting them know this ahead of time, and it puts me in a stronger position to fire and also in a stronger position to do performance reviews with team members on a weekly basis when they're new to a position, to help coach them, keep them on track, and get the best of my investments in them. Similarly, I have developmental requirements on a schedule of how I'm going to train them, what they need to learn, and what they need to master by a certain time frame to stay in the job. And I have very clear responsibilities of what they need to do to master the job before they can upgrade or evolve to the next job, and to make sure that they're able to do everything that's required on a day-to-day basis. The fifth step to creating an automatic insurance agency is to automate high retention rates. We want to minimize our lapse rate or customer defections and multiply our renewal income. In this example here, let's look at how we can maximize the lifetime value of renewals in an agency. You're going to see that lower lapse rates can equal millions more of commissions to the agency. In this example, we're going to look at 20 years of renewals in an agency where the new sales rate is 16% and there are 300,000 of current renewal commissions. If we look at a variety of different lapse rates starting at 16% and going down to 8% down the screen here, we'll notice that the lapse rate impacts how many years the client stays with us. If we have a 10% lapse rate, as we do almost towards the bottom of the page here, and if we lose 10% of our clients every year, on average, we would turn over our book every 10 years. So on average, we would keep a client for 10 years. Now, the main thing we're going to really focus on here is gain rate, the difference between the new sales rate and the lapse rate. So if we have a 16% new sales rate, and in this first example, we have a 16% lapse rate, we have a gain rate of 0%. And down the page, we have anywhere from 0% to 4% to 8%, and we're going to illustrate what the income to the agency would be at different levels. In the first row, if there's a 0% gain rate, and we stay at 300,000 of renewal commissions every year, and we do that for 20 years, we're going to see that the agency would have 6 million of renewal commissions. If we have just a 1% lapse rate difference and have a 15% lapse rate, which leads to a 1% gain rate, we would have 6.6 million of P&C renewals over those 20 years, which would average to 333,000 of renewals per year. Couple numbers down, at a 4% gain rate or a 12% lapse rate, we now have 9.2 million of renewals instead of 6 million, and just 2 percentage points a little bit lower, at a 6% gain rate or 10% lapse rate, we would have almost double the 6 million of renewals. We'd have 11,697,000 renewals, almost double over the same period. So $584,000 of renewals every year instead of 300,000. So the lapse rate makes a huge difference. If we can get on top of that and we are aware of how big of the deal that is, we can often make a huge impact on it. The way we're going to do that is to connect with our clients more and really show them that we're out to help them, distinguish ourselves from the call center type insurance agency models, and connect with the client ideally once a quarter. Some people do this once every 6 months. The first time, we're going to call and just see how they're doing and see if there's anything we can help them with. Second call, we're going to make sure they're getting all their available discounts and offer to help them with that. Third call, we'll see if their current plan is protecting their income, their financial future of their loved ones, and their health. And then eventually we'll talk to them about helping them afford the coverages they want and seeing if they want our help with that. With each of these calls, we can clearly let our team members know what we're going to say to the client. And as the client realizes we're there to help them, it's going to reduce our lapse rates and make it much more likely clients stay with us. Implementing these calls alone have helped agencies drop lapse rates anywhere from 1% to 3% over a 3 to 6 month period. The sixth step to create an automatic insurance agency is automating acquisition and optimizing conversions. This might be one of the most difficult parts of any agency, which is getting team members to truly solicit and stir up new business. We really need to focus on increasing producer sales activity so that the income also increases. If you tell an awesome acquiring, rainmaking salesperson, look, you make X dollars every time you make one life or health or auto or any type of sale. Well, what if you made 100 more sales? That person's going to start thinking, well, gosh, if I made 10 calls per day and worked that for 250 work days, that's 2,500 calls. I could make 100 additional sales if I just had a 4% closing ratio. But wow, wait, you know what? I could have 250 more sales if I had a 10% closing ratio. We still need a person who sees the world this way and is excited about doing this, but we also need systems in place to help them create the action plans to make it likely that this is possible, envision what they need to do to make these things happen, and then also help them track their sales quoting activity and conversions to see if what they're doing is actually turning into the results that are going to help them not only increase their closing ratios, but increase the sales they're actually making. The next step is to automate your bundling processes. We want to get all team members offering multi-line bundles to those clients who don't want deeper help from us. So we're going to use a questionnaire to filter our clients. We're going to offer the clients to help them protect their income, their loved ones, and their assets by offering a questionnaire where they will tell us about what's most important to them. Now, if you think about the dentist model or the doctor model, they won't even talk to you if you don't fill out a questionnaire. But in our business model, we'll still write the auto insurance or the homeowner's insurance, even if they don't want more. But the filter is going to allow us to see which clients we offer bundles to versus which clients we do multi-line reviews with. So for that part of the clientele on the left that says, yes, they'll complete a questionnaire, they'll tell us what's important in their family, what's going on, we don't need to offer them a bundle because they've already opted in for a deeper conversation. But for the client who says, no, I won't fill out your questionnaire, I'm not going to tell you how you can protect my income, loved ones, and assets with your help, that person, we're going to realize that we've been given a much smaller window to offer them help. But since we're still a multi-line operation, we're going to tell the person something like this. Many of our clients who purchase auto insurance like to make sure their car payment will be made if they're unable to work, and that their assets are protected from large liability lawsuits. This usually costs somewhere between, let's say, $15 and $13 per month. You may choose any or all of these options. Would you like to know the investment for the extra protection? So even though the client is not willing to go into a deep conversation with us about what's most important to them, we're still able to offer this, and a certain percentage of clients will respond. So, similarly, when it's a home insurance sale or change, we're going to do the same thing and say, hey, there's your home. What about mortgage disability? What about mortgage life? What about liability umbrella? What about personal articles policy? We might also add for flood or other coverages. So we're just creating a situation where this becomes process. This is not something that's some amazing sales thing that's never been done before. We're making sure we do a thorough job for our clients and making sure they're aware of all their options. That's not really sales. That's just doing a thorough professional job for our clients. So we will make sure all of our team members ultimately know how to and do in fact do this. Next thing we want to do is automate the multi-line process as much as possible. As we filter our clients, we're going to have the most engaged clients be the ones we serve deeper and conduct multi-line reviews for them. We're going to offer a very basic concept. Most of our clients have an unbalanced insurance portfolio. They might have high amounts of auto or total homeowners insurance coverage because of the liability coverages, and maybe they even have some health insurance, but very often they don't have life insurance enough for what they need, and they don't have any disability income protection. Most of them actually would want to be here if they could have a comfortable conversation with a professional who could help them understand that we can help them do that. And so first, we're going to find out what's important to them by having them complete the questionnaire. Again, this is for the group of people who will complete the questionnaire. We're going to help the clients find the money to afford the protection they most want. We'll help them look at the discounts they could get and help them eliminate duplicate coverages and dud coverages. We might involve them in raising deductibles or diversifying their insurance portfolio, and also explore restructuring debt and credit cards or dropping unimportant expenses. As we help them do this, we'll be able to help them free up some money on a monthly basis, which can be used for either improving the quality of their lifestyle, saving for goals and dreams, and/or affording coverage that they want but can't afford. Most clients do want more coverage, they just simply don't want to have to pay for it. This is a strategy we can use to help them do that. We'll also help them protect their loved ones and income. For those who raise their hand and say, yes, I do want to make sure my income and my loved ones are protected, we're going to help them look at the major threats to their income and the financial security of their loved ones. Disability income situations, life insurance claims, health insurance claims, and long-term care situations. And in each situation, we're just going to find out from them, what do you want? What do you actually have? And when we help you identify that gap, what do you want to do about it and when? We're going to approach the client like a trusted advisor. We're not looking to close hard on this. We're simply making sure we help them understand what's actually going on and then help them take action when they're ready to. And for those who want to go even deeper to make sure they're making the most of their assets and minimizing their liabilities and maximizing their income, we can find out more about them to help them best optimize their insurance portfolio and the way they invest their money in their insurance solutions and goals and dreams. So we're going to let clients opt in for help. Again, on the right, many won't do the questionnaire, but some will. We're going to offer the questionnaire to clients when they walk in. Please take a moment to complete this form so we can help you make sure that your income, your loved ones, and your assets are protected. For the clients we talk to over the phone, we can do it the same way. In order to best help you get the right coverage for you and your family, I'd like to email you a form to help you make sure that your income, your loved ones, and your assets are protected. May I email that to you? For those that come into the office but don't fill out the questionnaire, when they come to the team members' desks, they're going to find that there is a questionnaire in front of them with a stand-up placard, those plastic marketing brochure holders, that says the same thing. We want to help you make sure you're taken care of. Please complete this for us. And then for the quiet 80% of your agency that never comes in the agency and never bothers you and never calls, we're going to use letters to reach them as well. So we're going to be working the existing book through questionnaires and making outgoing calls to ultimately set appointments, host client reviews, and make sales happen. Overall, we're going to be offering help at least 3 times to maximize client participation. All of our auto and fire clients, whether they are new or renewal, are first going to be offered the review appointment and/or the questionnaire. Some are going to say they don't want more help, and some will say that they do. For those who don't want more help, we'll offer the related multi-line bundle, as we discussed earlier. For those who do, we'll offer the family and income protection review. And then for those who are offered the bundle, some will say they want the bundle, some will say they don't. And for those who do the family and income protection review, some will simply want the full review. Some might just want a product that they know they want to purchase. That's fine too. And then eventually we'll also offer the discount check where we help them find the additional money and give them multiple opportunities to get help from us so we can help them protect their income, their loved ones, and assets as best as possible. Step 9 in the process involves automating your delegation process. We want to make sure you're delegating your low-dollar activity to people who are competent and who can take care of that for you. So most business owners invest their time in a way where about 80% of their time is being invested in low impact work. I'm going to call it 1X work. So let's say X is $10. So maybe $10 per hour work. And to make the visual of this simple, let's say this person's working a 50-hour work week. 40 of those hours, 80%, are going to be spent in 1X work. And then maybe 8 of those hours, or 16% of the time, will be spent in 4X work, work that is worth 4 times the hourly amount as the initial work, the low impact work. So maybe in this example, $40 per hour work. And then roughly about 2 hours per week, or 4% of the time, the agency owner will be doing huge impact work, work that is 16 times the hourly income. So in this case, $160 per hour. And so as this time is being invested, even though 80% of the time is being spent on low impact work, only 38% of the income comes from there. Another 31% of the income comes in 8 hours worth of work, and another 31% comes in 2 hours worth of work. So 62% of the income is made in 20% of the time. This might not be exactly what it looks like, but it's very common to see something like this with virtually all entrepreneurs unless they've really focused on this. And using a simple strategy, we can make a huge impact on this. First, we eliminate the useless, unproductive tasks. Delegating saves time, but eliminating tasks saves the money that you'd have to pay somebody to do them for you. We ignore irrelevant items, automate whatever we can with technology, and then, yes, we do delegate some tasks to competent stewards. We maintain some of the work that it might be boring, but maybe it has to be done in the job. And then we scale up the time in profitable and exciting projects. This sounds simple, but it requires a little more skill to implement it accurately. When it's done, you can free up many hours on a regular basis and earn at a higher income rate without having to get involved in the tedious, repetitive work that maybe you've outgrown. We have software that also helps you do this and make this happen as systematically and as consistently as possible. In step 10, we're going to automate your recruiting process by firing non-experts and constantly building your hiring pool. We have a process that's about 90% delegable or delegatable to your team members once you get it up and going and mastered. The first step is to drive traffic. Then we pre-screen applications. Third, we'll send pre-screening assessments. And then fourth, conduct in-person interviews. Fifth, we'll ask fact-checking questions to make sure the applicant is actually doing what they say they're doing in their application. Sixth, we administer the Wonderlic aptitude test in person. And then seventh, do some job role specific interview questions. Eighth, we administer the Kolbe profile in person. Ninth, we present the job responsibilities packet. And then we have our final interview. Step 11, if after the interview is conducted, we want the person, we present the opportunity packet. And if we decide we're going to present an offer, we're going to do the reference and background checks. Now, you might have a process that's like this or similar, or maybe you haven't yet laid it out, but it might be kind of similar. But what gets even better with this is when we get clear about who's going to do which pieces of this. These first 6 steps can be delegated to a recruiting manager. Whoever is the job expert in that specific role, or a team lead if you have one, can ask these questions. So for example, if you have a person in your office who's a retention expert and trains the other retention experts, that person could ask these questions. Whereas if the person you're hiring was a multi-line role, and let's say you're the only person who's a multi-line expert, then you would be the need to be the person who would offer and administer those questions. Steps 8 and 9 can also be done by a recruiting manager. And then the final interview is done by the agency owner and the recruiting manager in person. And finally, the last 2 steps can also be done by a recruiting manager. So first, getting clear about what can be done is very important. And then from there, we can make sure that we're driving more traffic by using multiple sources of traffic, not just the common sources of traffic, but traffic that includes everything from Career Builder to Career Plug to Indeed to using your social media, your LinkedIn, your Facebook page, multiple sources of leads from team members, from other sources of your clients and other centers of influence, being able to drive as much traffic as possible, and also be very clear about what profiles fit the type of jobs you're looking to hire. Each role has a certain set of responsibilities and tasks they're held accountable to, and each role has a certain profile that is unique to them and they respond best to. Step 11 is to automate your profit optimization. Optimize your profit first and then scale your agency. Imagine if your agency was a speedboat or a motorboat. Many people would say the best way to get the most out of that would be to put the biggest engine on it and have that boat go as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. But if you know anything about boats, or even physics for that matter, it's possible that the engine could be so big that it could actually sink the boat. Similarly, if the boat has a lot of holes in it, we don't need to put a bigger engine on the boat as the first step. We first need to close the holes, make the boat as optimally profitable or as optimally fast in the case of a boat as possible, and then add speed to it, then scale it. So if you're an insurance agency owner, your income can look like just about any one of these. I've worked with agency owners, and usually as long as they're grossing at least $250,000 in their agency, I've seen agency owners at any one of these percents that they're taking home, regardless how many years they've been an agency owner. And so we want to make sure you're being paid like a business owner. In these three examples, you'll see three common strategies that are employed, and only one of them works. In the first strategy, for every $100,000 of P&C renewals, the agency owner has one base salary for a person who is doing retention. Then the agency owner realizes they need more life and health sales to hit their company goals, and they hire a second person. So you have a second base salary. There's a certain amount of fixed overhead, and then each staff member or team member has an additional amount of overhead. And so in this example, there's $110,000 of expense on $100,000 of P&C renewals. And so the agency owner is actually losing $10,000 for every $100,000 of P&C renewals, and they need to make up that income with new sales or with company bonuses or scorecard bonuses. So at the end of the day, the agent position is not a business owner. They're an employee of the agency. In a similar example, all the variables are the same, except the agency owner says, well, wait, I'm going to pay lower base salaries. So now instead of paying a $30,000 base salary, they're paying $25,000 base salaries. So they're breaking even, but they're still making no money on the most profitable part of their business, the renewals. And so they still need to make new income with new sales and with their scorecard or company bonuses. They're still an employee. In the third model, the agency owner still has $100,000 of P&C renewals, but they're only using one team member to service that part of the book of business. Even if they don't get great auto fire sales or great multi-line sales, they're keeping the overhead in total to $60,000 of expense. And so they're making $40,000 of every $100,000 of P&C renewals. The agency owner is earning 40% on the renewals without working on the auto and fire business. And so they're actually truly a business owner. This is what we want. This is why you signed up for this business model. This slide alone is worth tens of thousands of dollars if implemented to many insurance agency owners who are doing this incorrectly. Additionally, it's important to clarify the number of roles for your agency, how many people should be doing each of the roles, and where you, as the agency owner, fit in that equation. We also want to make sure that both of your agencies are profitable. Your first agency is your renewal agency. And so before we look at any of your new sales income or your expenses to generate new sales, we want to look at simply your P&C renewals and then the building expenses, the base salaries, and the other overhead necessary to make that happen to see what your renewal profit is for the agency and for you as an agency owner. And then separately, we want to look at your first year sales and related income and see how much in expense you're putting out and how much net income you're making off of your first year business. And then finally, the total of that first agency and second agency to see how profitable the entire agency is. Many agency owners are borrowing too much money and taking too much profit from their profitable renewal agency and just spending through the money like crazy on their first year agency. And they're actually making enough money to earn an income on their renewal book, but then they're wasting it very often on first year or sales acquisition, advertising, or projects that are not paying off. And so they actually then put themselves back under the income level that they want because they're overspending in that area. We want to make sure that you have a balance of profit in each sections of your agency and throughout the entire agency. And then step 12 is to automate your 4-day work week, to put your play first and work 4 days, usually about 28 hours or less each week on whatever weeks you decide to work. So there's a book that I created years ago that many agency owners have read called The 23 Reasons Most Insurance Agency Owners Can't Work a 4-Day Work Week and How to Fix Them. It's available in audio and in a book. And the focus of that book is really simply how to do what I call flipping your work week and put the most enjoyable part of your business, the fun part, the reason that you got into a small business for, to have freedom and have fun, to put that as the first and most important part of your work week, and then do the work part after that. Now, in your business model, which is so perfectly designed for this, there's only 4 things you need to do to be excellent and to be able to ultimately work that 4-day work week very easily. The 4 most critical insurance agency owner tasks in order are to, number 1, have a low lapse rate to retain your renewals and make as much money off of your auto-fire renewals as possible. The second is to grow your business as much as possible through acquisition and the combination of acquisition and lapsing, which is your gain rate. The third is to multi-line as much as possible and have as many clients purchase multiple lines of coverage with you so they're more likely to stay with you longer and grow your book, in addition to the fact that you make company bonuses off of that or earn additional income from the life or health or disability sales. Just knowing that those 3 roles together, if they're done, we've already assigned team members that are focused on each of those. So if we can optimize that, we can have the low lapse rates. We can have solid growth rates. We can have good multi-line ratios. And then the 4th most critical task is to be constantly upgrading your team. And that's by developing them so they become more skilled and then reducing undesirable turnover. If you can do these 4 things, you can run a successful insurance agency. If you can't, it almost doesn't matter how good you are at everything else. And so if you take that concept and then just turn it sideways, the first 3 days of your week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in this model, can be focused on enjoying life, getting recharged, and being ready to come back into work, excited when Monday comes. And then on Monday, as Vice President of Retention, you make sure you optimize your retention processes by having your team members do as much as possible and as best as possible to reduce your lapse rate to be at 10% or below. On Tuesday, you focus on growing the agency by looking at how you can market and advertise and then optimize your acquisition funnels and helping your team members work the processes to grow your agency. On Wednesdays, you'll probably be doing a little bit of selling and a little bit of coaching. So as you're selling, your team members can come in and watch what you're doing. Or as they're doing appointments, you can step in on their appointments and help them close sales. And then on Thursday, you're upgrading your team, you're working on your business, you're learning how to best make the most of your agency and reducing undesirable turnover. So that's just one focus per day, 1 day per week on any week you decide to work. What you'll find is you get a really strong hold on this. You won't even need to work on this every week. Sure, the weeks when you're off, there might not be as much multi-line sales, but everything else can be done in a very short period of time. So if you reach 10 a.m. on Monday and your lapse rate's at 10%, you can head out for the day. You don't need to be there. This is getting you very clear about what needs to be done. Now, on some days, you might say, wait, I've got to stay longer because, man, I'm messing up in an area and it's kicking my butt. My lapse rate's at 30%. Okay. But if you can just get that nailed down on your Monday, you know on the other days, you can focus on the other critical tasks within your agency. So these 12 steps together, when executed correctly, not only do they multiply your production and your profit, but they create what I like to call an automatic insurance agency, an agency where the majority of the positive things are happening without you having to be involved on a micromanaging level or involved on a day-to-day basis. This allows you to be an entrepreneur who happens to have an insurance agency as part of your business portfolio, as opposed to being somebody who's only an insurance agent or only an insurance agency owner who simply has no other way of generating income. Look, with all that's going on today, with homeowners markets, exposure management, and especially with the uncertain future of what will happen with self-driving cars, we need to make sure you're in a situation where you're growing your business, you're making it as streamlined as possible, you're impacting your clients in a very positive and profound way so that they choose you even as the business model evolves. And so that, yes, if things do change and you have to switch how you do your model, or you have to fall back on something else, that you have other business models that complement this, that help you grow your business, not just an agency, not just depending on one business or one stream of income to make sure it provides for you. So those are the 12 steps to creating an automatic insurance agency. When these are executed correctly, production and profit multiply. Here's some results from one of our clients. Less hours, lower lapse rate, and more net income. This agency owner went from working 55 hours a week to 35 hours a week, 45 days into a private coaching program. The lapse rate for the agency went from 27% to 20%, and over the course of a year, there was a 40% increase in annual net income. In some ways, these results are towards the higher end and definitely not guaranteed, yet other agency owners have experienced similar decreases in hours, and sometimes more, and similar increases in income, and sometimes more. Here are 7 myths that are costing insurance agency owners millions of dollars and thousands of hours. The first is the myth that you need a huge agency to create an automatic insurance agency. Small agencies can be efficient and automatic, and big agencies can be inefficient and a mess. It really depends how you run your agency. The second is that you need many team members. Similar concept to the first one. If your team members are very clear on their roles, know what's expected of them, and can perform, you can have an automatic insurance agency. And if the team members are unclear, then all you're doing is scaling inefficiency and lack of profit. The third myth is that you need huge production. All you really need is enough income to generate the net income necessary for you to live the lifestyle you most desire. Now, of course, you can and will probably want to continue to grow your income, but so many agency owners have it in their mind that their income needs to be of a certain amount of $500,000 or $1 million or more to be able to enjoy working less hours and really enjoy the fruits of their labor of the business they started. Definitely not true. You need huge gross income. That's the same thing as huge production, not necessarily something that has to be there. You must spend lots on advertising. Definitely, especially lately, the more people are leveraging huge amounts on internet advertising or cost per click advertising, or simply forms of advertising they're not as familiar with, It's almost the exact opposite. Very often, over-leveraging in advertising can certainly lead to it being harder to automate your agency because it just creates more waste of dollars and expenses. It creates more chaos, and it creates higher lapse rates. Some people believe it takes 10 to 15 years to create an automatic insurance agency. I've worked with insurance agency owners who work less than 40 hours in their first year and perform successfully and are ranked in the top 10 of agency owners around the country. Very possible to do if you know what you're doing. And then the final myth is that it's too late. Like anything else, unless you're about to retire in the next week or two, you can simply make changes. It doesn't matter where you've been. It might take a little longer to make changes if you have more things that need to be changed, but it's definitely possible, and most likely it's not too late for you and your agency. Here's another agency owner who's been able to reduce their work time to a 3-day work week, make more money, have more fun, create more income, have more fun outside work, get involved in more things, more free time activities. This is something we see very often with our agency owners. Here's another agency owner who was able to reduce their work hours from 60 to 70 hours a week to 30 simply by realizing that some of the attempts to scale the agency were not fruitful and that some of the team members' roles were not as clear. This gain happened in less than a 3-month period. The automatic insurance agency coaching programs can help you, if you're a multi-line insurance agency owner, to make more money in less time doing what you do best through a series of training videos, sales processes, software, calculators, related tools, and more. The automatic insurance agency coaching program can help you maximize your insurance agency impact and your income in about 16 to 24 hours per week. The program is offered in 2 different versions. The first is the online group. You get the online training and membership site, and you get lifetime access to that once you've completed your investment. This site has access to all the videos, the tools, the templates. You can access it from any device or laptop that you can access online sites with. You get the training videos, the tools, the word tracks, the templates. Sometimes we have Excel templates to do the math for you. Sometimes we have forms. We have job posting descriptions. All the different things you'll need to implement what I'm showing you, we have that. We also share with you the Money Time software. This is a software designed to help you make the most out of the time you invest in your work, to help you make the most impact and make the most income in the shortest period of time. There are also 2 monthly group implementation Q&A calls where we go into the content in depth to make sure you understand everything you need to know to implement the program. For those people who want additional support, there's also the private coaching option, which includes all of the aforementioned pieces, plus it includes 1 private coaching call a month with me to help you implement the system. If for some reason you wanted to do 12 coaching calls in a shorter period of time, that's an option too. The financial investment for this, for the online group, is $2,500 or $250 times 12 monthly investments. And the private coaching is $5,000 or $500 times 12 monthly investments. All of these things mentioned above contribute to that, but the more important thing is what sort of a return you're going to get from this. Now, this is kind of a tricky question. So first thing is, like any other program, if it collects dust and sits on your binder or it sits in your computer or the email sits in a folder gathering dust, well, then the return on investment is not going to be anything. But that's also why we have a money-back guarantee, 30 days for any reason whatsoever. But to give you an idea of what we normally see, what's commonly see with people that implement the program, let me show you what the common results are. And the common results are about a 10 times return on investment of your time and of your money. So with the online group, usually you're going to gain about 8 hours of time per week. That is, you're going to free up about 8 hours per week. And if we use a simple concept of 50 hours a week, yours might not be exactly the same, but roughly that's about 400 hours per year. And usually between income savings or not making bad hiring decisions or not making bad investment decisions on acquisition of business or making additional sales, in combined, usually we see about a $30,000 per year growth or net gain for the agency owner. Now, these are illustrated for 1 year, But if you keep these can become lifetime gains, and many of the clients I've done this with over the years do see that. They lock these in and they keep doing these things. Of course, I can't legally guarantee the gains, but I can guarantee you a money-back guarantee for any reason. Now, the expected investments, in the course of a year, you're probably going to invest about 40 hours in the online group program. And that meaning 40 hours you would not have invested otherwise in your agency. And you're going to invest that $2,500 or 250 times 12, which would be $3,000. And then the expected returns, again, if you do the math on that from an ROI standpoint, if you get a gain of 400 hours off of 40 hours invested, that's a 10 times return on investment. Similar concept with a $30,000 gain and the $3,000. And just to let you know, I didn't make up the gains based on the pricing. I've set the pricing based on what I see as common gains because it's a commonly accepted practice in the coaching, the consulting field, that you want to see your client have a 10 times return on investment if they do what you say. In the case of the private coaching, usually there's going to be a larger gain in time freedom because I get a chance to go deeper into the agency owner situation. Now, any questions that are asked on individual calls could be asked on group calls, but usually I get to know more of what's going on, get a better sense of the finances and a little more detail, so that helps even more. That usually leads to bigger gains financially as well. The investment of time ends up being a little bit more because you add the private coaching calls and some follow-up, and the dollar investment is more. But usually, again, it tracks right about at a 10 times return on investment is what we commonly see. Now, people will sometimes say, okay, well, Wade, what about the person that implements but doesn't see as good of results? What's kind of a low end? So here's what a low end result sometimes looks like. And again, these are for people that do implement. People that don't implement, that's kind of a flip of a coin. But people who implement, on the lower end side, sometimes we'll see about half those gains, about 4 hours a week or 200 hours a year, which is still very good, and certainly a net gain over the 40 hours invested. And they'll see a $15,000 gain. Again, a net gain, not quite as strong, but still about a 5 times gain. And similarly, on the private coaching side, it's pretty similar. It's a smaller gain, but it's still a gain. It's a 5 times gain, well worth the time financially and as far as time investments. On the higher end side, what we see is about a 20 times return on time investment and still a 10 times return on the financial investment. So what I mean by that is you'll see even more time off. So for example, 16 hours a week or 800 hours a year instead of 400, but you'll still see probably about the $30,000 on the online group. I've seen some people do a little bit more, but that's kind of a more common amount. And then as far as the investments stay the same. And so the return on investment for the time is a 20 times multiple, but the financial usually isn't too much more above 10 times, simply because in most insurance agencies, they don't scale or grow at an exponential rate. They grow at a more steady rate. And so making much more than about a 10 times return on investment can be difficult, but if you have a much bigger agency, certainly possible. And then on the private coaching side, a very similar concept as well. Now, I've seen some people in a group program save more than 20 hours a week on their timing, but again, looking at more common situation, people saving 24 hours a week, gain about 1,200 hours of savings. And these are people usually that are doing 45, 50, 55 hours a week, seeing a big drop because we're focusing on what they don't need to be doing. And again, that turns into a similar financial gain, but a much bigger time gain. So in all these situations, the coaching program can help you become one of the top hourly income earners in your field. This is about investing in you, your business, your future, and creating more time for your family, for your friends, and for your fun. You can gain hundreds to tens of thousands of hours in your lifetime, and you can gain thousands to millions of dollars in your lifetime if you get this going now. So I encourage you to register to get started. I look forward to helping you create the lifestyle you most desire, and I look forward to helping you make more money in less time doing what you do best. Thank you.